This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com. I was telling Silva that story with a friend of ours. You know, Fred Chernoff, the guy who does our funny animations for Patreon.
Yeah, right.
He came to town and hung out for a couple of days, and I was telling him that story. And Silva goes, tell him the Ricky Morton story. Have I ever told you this story?
You may have.
Ricky Morton in 2004 at TNA in Nashville at the fairgrounds backstage. Have I told you about that?
I don't think so, no.
So it's one of the first times I got to be backstage at a wrestling show. A friend of mine, friend of ours, you know him, you've met him before. He was doing video on demand.
Okay.
Back before it was what it is now.
Right.
Now, these days, of course, everybody's got it. But back then in 2004, it was like a revolutionary thing. Well, he had found a way to archive some of the old TNA footage, put it up as on-demand programming, and he was doing some sort of a rev share deal with TNA. So he had a meeting, and he said, hey, man, you want to go check out TNA? And I said, yeah, absolutely. But he wanted to leave way early. I thought, you know, we'd leave at 4 or 5 or whatever. And he's like, no, we need to leave at like 11. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, we got to go to the building and do some business before the show starts. And I'm like, oh, I didn't realize you were doing stuff with them, blah, blah, blah. So we had a whole conversation, get up there early, but I got to see really how the sausage was made for the first time. Okay. So at one point we're out back, just killing time out just outside the building, which is where a lot of the guys would go to smoke. And it was kind of cool to see Sabu just smoking a cig and talking. Cause back then he didn't cut promos or talk. So it was like, wow, okay, this is kind of interesting. Right. Sort of your Johnny Valentine thing.
Sure.
And here comes Ricky Morton. And he, of course, says hello to everybody, typical wrestler thing. And then he sees they're doing like a Team Canada versus Team Japan thing that night. There's some Japanese wrestlers lined up across the cement block wall, seated on folding chairs underneath a little bit of shade. And they're just enjoying the fresh air at the Nashville Fairgrounds. Anyway, Ricky Morton has a question for one of these Japanese competitors. And as you might imagine, Ricky Morton is fluent in Japanese. So Ricky Morton knew. Are you okay?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Ricky Morton knew in order to speak Japanese, it's simple. All you do is speak slower and louder.
Right.
And they got it.
Sure. Right.
Not slower and louder Japanese.
No.
Slower and louder English.
Right.
Everybody knows that.
Right.
They're not having trouble with what you're saying. It's that you're saying it too low or too fast.
Right.
So I saw with my own two eyes, Ricky Morton realize, hey, oh, that fella's Japanese. You could see like the boop above his head. And he leans over and he says, hey, how's Hayabusa doing? Now, to add context, a few years prior to this, Hayabusa went to do a springboard moonsault, landed right on top of his head, paralyzed himself. But if you were a fan of FMW and he had a crossover show here or there with ECW, especially Heatwave 98 that people still talk about, but it was a tragedy. He was not able to wrestle again. He was wheelchair bound. He did eventually walk again, but he was not. His in-ring stuff was done. So he yells, hey, how's Hayabusa doing? And the Japanese guy goes, like me? And yeah, you. He leans forward and sort of shrugs his shoulders like, what? And he looks back at us, realizing clearly like a Georgia or Tennessee boy, and everybody knows I'm an Alabama hillbilly.
Yeah.
I got this. Watch this. How is Hayabusa? Hayabusa. How is he? How? I'm thinking, how? Is he Indian? What is he doing? Anyway, he eventually got this move, which was when I was like, we should go inside. This is too much. He kept going. And the guy's like, I don't know. What? I mean, it's almost you know, I'm a hillbilly, so all I know is no habla inglés, but that's Spanish. Pretend he said the Japanese version. I don't know. So anyway, eventually Ricky Morton goes, "How is Hayabusa?" Now he's got his hands low though, as if it was a wheelchair. This is how Ricky Morton thinks you explain that someone is paralyzed in Japanese. You make the wheelchair motion. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in wrestling, and cemented in my mind that officially wrestlers are just regular people. Now, of course, we all know that now with the social media era.
Right.
But my grandmother and my grandfather, and in fact, my mom and perhaps my dad, all believe, and maybe this is something that was generational, or maybe it just happens to all of us when we get older. If they're not sure what you're saying, say it slower, say it louder.
Right.
How about that?
Yeah. I was in France with the WWE and Lord Alfred Hayes, and there was something wrong with my room, so I rang the front desk, and the lady answered in French, and I tried to tell her what was wrong, and I was speaking loudly, and she went, "Sir, I understand English. You don't have to shout." So, yeah, us rednecks do crazy shit like that.
It's tremendous.
Yeah.
By the way, I forgot to put over how nice Michael Hayes' home is. You've been there before.
Yeah, it's very
a
nice.
fantastic house.
Yes, it is.
And I feel strongly that saving money is important. You know, if it's not something we worry about now, boy, we are really going to worry about it later. And I want to help you get out of debt faster and do it with cheaper monthly payments. I'm talking to you if you're in a 30-year loan. Now is the time to take years off of your loan. We're routinely helping our listeners cut 5, 10, even 15 years off their loan. And you can do this without perfect credit, with no money out of pocket. You've just got to start at savewithconrad.com.
The Midnight Express, Dodgers, Rock and Roll Express for 6 months, but finally they did put his name on the dotted line. Jimmy Cornette, you see right here, baby, we are the new NWA World Tag Team Champions, baby.
Jim Cornette's pretty upset down here.
That's right, Tony. You know, we told Cornette time and time again that 202, that we could beat this Midnight Express anytime and any place. You see, Jimmy Cornette, we didn't give you a chance to use that tennis racket, brother, because we kept an eye on you all night. And when that match was over, you see, we are the new World Tag Team Champions. But then again, Tony, you got to put it down. You got America's team, Dusty Rhodes, Magnum TA, the Andersons. They're all coming after these belts right here. But, brother, we plan on keeping them for a long time. Right here, I'm talking about rocking in the USA, the Rock and Roll Express, and all you nice people. And out here, too, baby, they belong to you, and that's too. Woo! That's it, Tony.
The Rock and Roll Express. We're coming right back.
I think we may need a t-shirt that's Robert Gibson inspired that just says, "That's it, Tony." I like that at the end. That's it, Tony. What do you think of those tag belts? Where do those rank in all-time belts? Let's talk about it in a minute.
Okay.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at savewithconrad.com.